Folks, good afternoon and welcome. First of all, let me ask the folks all the way in the back. So Jason or Vikram, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So thank you folks and welcome to India Center. Thank you for taking time on this beautiful sunny day. First, beautiful weekend of the year. And it's really great to see so many people wanting to sit indoors and enjoy chai and samosas and some hopefully wonderful conversation. Let me start by welcoming all of our candidates. John, Steve. So look, this is our second or third time doing this, and I always start with the disclaimer saying, I'm probably the least qualified person in this room to moderate a discussion like this. We called it an open house and a discussion more than a debate, right? Because really our intention was to have a forum where all of you would have the opportunity to meet these wonderful candidates and for them to have a direct interaction with you. So the format of the rest of the afternoon, we have about an hour and a half. And what we're going to do is, we'll try to keep it based mostly on the questions that you folks submit. Just in the interest of keeping, the discussion somewhat organized. What we're asking is, we have these index cards up front. If you don't have one, just raise your hands, and we have a young volunteer here who will bring them to you. If you have a card that you haven't yet passed forward, pass it forward, write as many questions as you like. And what we'll do is we'll start off with quick introductions. We'll give each of the candidates a couple of minutes to introduce themselves. And then, we'll start with the questions. I have some questions written down as well. I have a bunch of cards that have come up here. So we'll just have an open discussion and hopefully have some fun. Does that sound like a plan? Yes. Awesome. All right. So welcome everybody. John Samuel was the first one to walk in and he said, I'm going to solve the first problem in this, and we're going to sit alphabetically, so that's how we're organized. So welcome. Why don't we start with an introduction? So why don't we take each maybe 2 minutes just to introduce yourself, talk about why you're running. So Johnji, we'll start with you and go down alphabetically.
Hi everyone. Mic check. Hello. Can you hear me? Yeah. My name is Johnji. Almost virtually all of you know me, and I would just like to say, of course, for those maybe one or two of you in the room who don't know me, I'm the commissioner of the Asian American Commission, and I'm a research doctor, and I do a lot of volunteer work in our community. But most importantly, I'm just here to be for the people. That's the slogan of our campaign. That's the goal of our campaign, is to have a candidate that is for the people. So I encourage you all to go to my website, johnji.com, if you'd like to learn more about me. And a lot of you already know almost everything about me, but if you would like to learn more, go to johnji.com. Also, you can call me anytime. My number is there, and I think all of you have it. So just give me a call anytime, send me an email, go to my website if you'd like to learn more about me. It's great to see you all here. I do have, as I mentioned to the organizers, a conflicting meeting that's going on at this time, so I won't be taking questions. But I will, however, be open to questions that you have submitted. I hope that you can contact me after the next debate, and I encourage you all to come to the next debate at 7 o'clock at the town hall. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'd like to thank the India Society for hosting this event. I very fondly remember representing the town at the groundbreaking event for this facility. I think it was called a puja, and I congratulate ISW on its success to the point that you're now working on a project to almost double this facility in size so you can expand your very successful program. I also had the great privilege to represent the town at the opening of the Sikh Temple in Westboro in the fall of 2017. By way of background, I'm 64. I attended Shrewsbury schools from grades 1 through grades 12. I graduated from Trinity College in Hartford. My wife Debbie, who's sitting in the back, and I have 3 adult kids, and we're the proud grandparents of 2. Professionally, for over 25 years, I worked as general manager of my family's business here in Shrewsbury, Shrewsbury Nurseries. In 2009, I changed careers and was appointed town administrator of Princeton, Mass. Until 2015, when Governor Baker appointed me to my present position as State Commissioner of Agriculture. I was first elected to town meeting when I was 18 years old, and I've served as a town meeting member for 35 years. Prior to my election to the Board of Selectmen in 1998, I served on the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I'm currently completing my 5th one-year term as chairman of the Board of Selectmen. Every May, we voters face a very important decision, a decision that affects our safety, our health, our quality of life, our kids' education, and so much more. And that question is, who should be elected Shrewsbury's leaders? How should we decide who to trust with that responsibility? I suggest that the biggest issue before the voters is always that of leadership. And I believe my performance as your selectman has continually demonstrated that I have the judgment, the experience, the temperament, the insight, and the leadership skills to continue to serve on our town's executive board. To learn more, please follow my campaign on Facebook or at our website, johnlebeau.com, and I respectfully please ask for one of your 2 votes for selectmen on Tuesday, May 7th. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Before I begin my formal remarks, I want to thank the India Society of Worcester for hosting this afternoon's candidate forum. I am truly excited about my candidacy for the Shrewsbury Board of Selectmen. Since announcing my candidacy, thank you, I've had the privilege of meeting with many Shrewsbury residents who, like you, deeply care about our community. By way of background, I grew up in Shrewsbury and am a proud product and graduate of the Shrewsbury Public Schools. I have my undergraduate degree in economics and a minor in Spanish from the University of Massachusetts at Amherst and my law degree from the Boston University School of Law. In between college and law school, I worked for General Electric and graduated from its financial management program, which combined 4 6-month rotational financial analyst assignments with MBA-level coursework. For over 20 years, I have been a corporate lawyer. I currently serve as Vice President and General Counsel at American Superconductor Corporation, located in Ayer, Massachusetts, and am responsible for the legal, human resources, and U.S. facilities organizations. I served 3 terms on the Shrewsbury School Committee and as a member of the 2013 Fiscal Study Committee. I've also served as a Precinct 7 town meeting member for more than 10 years. I am running for the Board of Selectmen to make Shrewsbury an even better community for all residents to live, work, and raise a family. I am concerned about several challenges currently facing our town, which include budget constraints, continuing residential growth, ongoing water issues, and the need to expand the commercial tax base. If these issues are left unresolved, the long-term vibrancy of our town could be adversely affected. My comprehensive budgeting knowledge and legal and business experience are all valuable skills that will enable me to make an immediate impact towards solving these challenges. I also have a strong understanding of the complexities of town government. My experience on the school committee, together with my legal and financial experience, will allow me to hit the ground running and to make an immediate positive impact on the Board of Selectmen, and I respectfully ask for one of your votes on Tuesday, May 7th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go with that one.
And
It works.
last but not the least, Steve.
Oh, thank you for that. I'm the only person that, even using a microphone, speaks really soft, so. Thank you so much for the invitation to speak to you all today. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about the town government and what I plan on doing to make the town an even better place to live. Like my parents and 4 siblings, I grew up in Shrewsbury, and my family roots go back here over 110 years. Our family business Worcester Sand and Gravel was established by my grandparents in 1910 and is the second oldest company in town. Since my father and several of my relatives were also Shrewsbury Selectmen, and my mother was president of a lot of local organizations, I grew up in a family environment where business, politics, government, and volunteering to help the community were part of our daily lives, and it still is. I attended Shrewsbury Public Schools and was the president of the class of '83. When I was 20, I started my first company and have owned and managed 3 other businesses over the last 33 years. I also served as the acting registrar at Florida University when I lived in Florida for a few years, and I attended classes there too. I'm the founder and former president of 6 very important organizations for youth and homeless families throughout the country. The first of which, SWAGME, turns 32 years old today, so I'm very proud of that. Over the years, I've volunteered for hundreds of great charities and nonprofits, and I'm presently the Shrewsbury Town Meeting member. I currently live right next to the house I grew up in, which is a little surreal after moving around a lot, with my partner Bob and our dog Boo. Thank you so much.
Thank you. How about, as much as we have these discussions, I think one of the hardest decisions anybody's ever made is to run for any kind of public office. How about a round of applause? Gentlemen, thank you all for coming and spending the afternoon with us, and thank you for your commitment to the town. I have a lot of interesting questions here, and I'm trying to figure out where for your team.
Yes, I have to go. after the next debate. Thank you.
All right. That was the first one. Usually people don't leave till after I start talking. Okay. I was trying to figure out the best way to organize this. Maybe let's pick some of the sort of the highlights of the big issues, right, that I feel like we've talked about as a town for several years. And at the top of the list is probably the school. So there are questions about, and I know we've talked about this in the past, about school and the discussions invariably come to budgets and what we spend on our schools. So I wonder if all of you could comment, or each of you could comment on how you look at where the Shrewsbury school system is today, and as a town, the kind of budget we allocate to it, and where you see that budget going forward. And so, Steve, maybe we'll start with you this time and move in reverse direction.
My primary comments on Shrewsbury School is actually school safety. I think school safety should be among one of our top priorities in Shrewsbury. I fully understand that school safety is handled by the amazing folks on the school committee and Superintendent Dr. Sawyer. That does not mean the Board of Selectmen can't work with them to ensure the safety of our town's student population. Shrewsbury is already one of the top 5 safest towns in the entire United States, which is phenomenal. But I would like to see Shrewsbury schools among the safest in the United States as well. I need to tell them about it. I was so incredibly distressed by the Columbine School massacre that occurred 20 years ago this month, actually. But I immediately got involved in trying to prevent school shootings. I've been at it ever since for more than 20 years, and I'm very passionate about it. Well, it turns out that no matter how hard I and so many others have worked to prevent school shootings, we have completely failed America's youth. There have been an average of 10 school shootings per year since 1999, and more than 400 of our nation's children have been injured or killed in the last 20-year period. More than 400 families have either had to watch their children endure painful and long-term physical therapy after children were shot, while other families have had to bury their children who are murdered in schools where kids should not only feel safe, but be safe. We have made a lot of improvements here, but we have to make damn sure that the Shrewsbury Public Schools have every single tool available to keep our community children safe while they are getting their education. And when I say we must guarantee our children's safety while they're in school, I don't mean just school shootings. I also mean completely eradicating bullying in every public school in town. As many folks who know me in town are aware, I was brutally bullied for 4 years in Shrewsbury High School after coming out of college in the 1980s. Not a good decision, actually. It was the most difficult time of my life. 35 years later, my life is still impacted by what I went through. I understand that we've come a long way in combating bullying since that happened, but we are not there. We're not where we want to be yet. Over the last 2 years, I have spoken with over 100 parents of children who claim that their children are still being bullied on a regular basis.
If you don't mind, I didn't set a time limit, and it's sort of my fault.
Okay.
If you don't mind, maybe wrapping up in 30 seconds, and then we'll give everybody 2 minutes and 30 seconds for this vote. And I'm sorry to break your flow.
That's okay. That's okay. I should also mention that the vast majority of school shooters have been kids who were bullied to the point of no return. When we adults fail at protecting kids from bullying and torment, some of those kids are going to school, are going to decide to take matters in their own hands and bring a gun to school. To stop the bullying on their own. If we prevent the school bullying, we will drastically reduce the number of school shootings before they're even thought of in a child's head. The lasting negative effects on a person's life from being the target of bullying as a result of the person is also daunting. I know because I've lived the life, and even one child getting bullied here in this town is one child too many. We need to do better, and we can do better.
Thank you so much. Johnson.
Sure. So Shrewsbury, one of the slides that Dr. Sawyer presented at the annual presentation of the school committee with his initial budget recommendation goes to efficiency and value. And Shrewsbury spends $13,335 per pupil, whereas the state average is about $15,900. So Shrewsbury would have to spend another $16 million to get up to the state average. We get tremendous value from our school district. We've been cited nationally for being cited for return on top investment and being the top 2.7% of all school districts throughout the U.S. So there's no doubt that our school system is the crown jewel of our community. The challenge that we see, and I did this 2 years ago, presenting a 5-year forecast for the school district. And there were some key points that I concluded. Dale McGee and I did this, and we did this as a committee. But in a nutshell, we faced significant deficits over the years. That is something that we see. We talk about the structural deficit for the town, and I talk about that and budget constraints as well as part of some of the challenges I think we face. We can't expect the state or federal revenues to help close this structural deficit. Our grants are flat. Chapter 78, which our town gets on an annual basis, is flat. We get a very nominal amount per student. And So it comes down to looking at resources and looking at the fiscal 20 budget. Unlike prior years, when the school budget started early in January and the town manager presented a very conservative estimate, the schools would do a carry-forward budget, and you'd have a really big gap, and it would cause a lot of heartburn because people weren't sure really where the number was. This year, the budget process went a little further along, was a little more mature when the town manager came out with really with as much or almost as much funding as he felt that he could give to the schools. And the good news is, unlike prior years, I think a couple of years ago, the question was $3.7 million, and how do you deal with that gap? This year it's $830,000, which the schools feel right now there's a limited opportunity with some revolving accounts to close, but no doubt, so I'll just close it up, that I believe that schools are the bedrock of our community, and as part of a long-term plan, and potentially additional resources being available now that pensions are fully funded, we need to look at funding our schools. Thank you.
And John, same question.
Sure, thank you very much. Well, I'm very grateful to the Shrewsbury school system. My dad, his brothers, his cousins all graduated from Major Beale. My sister and I, Debbie and her brothers, and our kids, and if I play my cards right, I'm hoping some of our grandkids may attend Shrewsbury Public Schools. So I'm extremely grateful for the education that our entire family has received and what it's allowed us to do. Part of being on the Board of Selectmen or to be on the Finance Committee or to be a town meeting member is to prioritize a series of very, very valid and good requests for spending. Unfortunately, we are not in a position to honor all those requests, and we have to try to arrive at some type of balance. So our current balance is that we are funding the school system at over 50% of our annual operating budget. Proposed for fiscal 20, it's about $130 million. And as I mentioned, in excess of 50% to go to the schools. The proposal that the manager initially put forth was for a 3.29% increase over fiscal 19. Now that's no denying that the school department has its own ramping costs that it must deal with every year. But it's all about the balance and trying to establish what we should do, because under the present revenue structure, if we were to increase the school's budget, we would have to make some dramatic changes in some of our other budgets, to public safety, to public works, human services, other things that the town does. So I'm looking forward to the new deal where we're preparing ourselves for all-day kindergarten, which I think will be a great thing. And as John mentioned, and about the retirement, also with, and I know folks sometimes don't want to talk about it, we've got to think about what we can use with the money we expect from the marijuana industry and how we may be able to devote that to certain needs.
Thank you, John. So if I could, follow up on that a little bit. A lot of the discussion about schools, and I sort of started with this caveat of being, underqualified for hosting this, right? But it seems to me that it goes into sort of intricacies of budget requests and budget spending. And it seems to me that in Shrewsbury, we've lived here for almost 20 years, and we pride ourselves on being a very well-managed town. We're also a town that has historically had very low tax rates compared to the rest of the state. And so most of our discussions about the school, at least the ones that I've heard, it seems to me, are a zero-sum game, which is, if we invest in the schools, that means by extension, we take money out of public safety or something else. I wonder if you could quickly comment, maybe less than a minute each, on whether you see this as a zero-sum game, whether Shrewsbury should continue to grow approximately at a town with the tax base that it currently has, or do you believe that structural changes are needed to grow the tax base of it with you, John.
30 seconds?
Yeah,
That's fine.
1 minute is fine.
Okay.
We have time. We lost one candidate, so, you know, we need zero.
Well, I'm happy that the three of us are here to continue the discussion. Well, expanding the tax base. So first of all, there are very rigid statutory parameters about growing the tax base. Proposition 2.5 effectively. How much we can annually grow every year. So to exceed that, there's essentially two tools. Economic development, which we're constantly striving for, and we talk about spending other monies for other things. For instance, the sewer work we want to do on Route 20. That could provide more economic development in that part of town, which would thereby increase the entire tax base. So we're always looking for economic development in non-residential means to do that. The other means is the override option. In 2014, I supported, along with others, and the community agreed, to a $5.5 million operational override to change the structure, as you suggest, and increase the tax base. Of that $5.5 million, I believe $4 million was dedicated to the schools. $1.5 million on the municipal side. So I think that, and the board supported that proportion, and I supported that proportion, and I think it demonstrated the board's and my support of increasing funding for education.
So there are a couple things. We talked about commercial development, and that is something I still think is viable, but it's more smaller steps first and longer term planning after, because I think there are water considerations and the like to bring in big businesses. What I want to do is start with a long-term plan, really to look at what we do holistically as a community and what we've really done since, say, 1954 versus 2019, and say, is what we do now and what we fund today match our values? So I'd like to start really whiteboarding and really look at it and come together as a community, determine who we want to be. So that doesn't necessarily follow with more taxes, because again, assuming that the retirement is fully funded, there is an opportunity for a few $1 million to fund ongoing operating expenses, as well as John said, potentially from the tax from the sale of marijuana within Shrewsbury as well, to provide additional resources. But I think all of those additional revenues or additional resources have to be looked at holistically with our overall town plan and say, in Shrewsbury 2030, who do we want to be? So I think it's a larger conversation that we have to look at, not just a zero-sum game, but as a game that we're playing is a game that we want to going forward. And I think, candidly, that's the first conversation we have to have. It's a lot of work, but our new town manager is also very big about strategic planning and forward-looking, and I think that's where the conversation starts.
Could you repeat the question? I'm a little bit.
Sure. So the question was, do you see a discussion about schools, and the tax base, which seems to be very intricately related? Do you see that as a zero-sum game, which is, if we increase our spending to schools, by extension, are we looking at approximately the same tax base, and if we're taking investment out of something else? Or, do you believe we should structurally change what the town's tax structure looks like? Or what the revenue base looks like?
I don't really think we should be raising taxes. I think it's more important to first retain the businesses that are here now and bring the businesses into Shrewsbury to raise more revenue for schools. Of course, school funding, I think it's somewhere around 50% of our budget, so it's obviously important. But I'm not really read up on this particular question, so.
Thank you. So there are a couple of interesting threads off of that which go into some of the other questions I have. So John and John, you both brought up this question of marijuana sales and revenue that we would get from marijuana. I don't have it in front of me. There are some questions about, generally concern about the increasing number of marijuana businesses in the town. I think I saw a report recently that said, at the state level, the amount of revenues that they were expecting, or the amount of actual revenues from marijuana sales are significantly lower than what had been projected. We'd love to, if each of you could comment for a little bit about how we see, on the one hand, safe schools, a safe community, and on the other hand, sort of a growing marijuana businesses in town. And maybe this time we'll start with you, Steve, and go around. I'm making up the order as I go.
Sure.
So.
Okay, well, first of all, I've always supported the marijuana shops. One of the reasons is because the marijuana was tested. Unfortunately, kids are going to be smoking marijuana, and they've been smoking marijuana forever, and there's not much we can do to stop it. So if they're going to be smoking, I'd rather see them be getting, and I know they can't buy from marijuana shops, but if the marijuana is coming from marijuana shops that they're ending up getting, rather than getting marijuana on the streets, I think that's a better solution there. I think there's a lot of money that's going to be made. I know there were a lot of figures when we were passing it in Shrewsbury, but I think it's going to be 2 or 3 times the amount. And I know it's not really spearheaded for any specific thing in Shrewsbury, but I think it should go to the schools. I think a lot more money should go to the schools, even though it's already a huge part of our budget.
Thanks.
So, a couple issues with this. In terms of marijuana generally, when it was decriminalized in 2007, 2008, that really started the discussion to get to where we were when we legalized it in the Commonwealth. I wasn't in favor of it, but then once we realized that both Grafton and Worcester were going to have shops right outside the borders, then at that point you can decide to take the high ground or also get some revenue. So to answer your question, I think there are a lot of concerns that we have with our kids. We have vaping, we have the opioid crisis, we have social and emotional health and well-being that also makes kids vulnerable to all of these. And I think part of that goes to really what we provide for supports with the community. I know within schools, we have to spend more resources on the social and emotional health and well-being for our kids. That's helpful. I had a meeting with Christine Maury from the Shrewsbury Youth and Family Services. Another opportunity is to provide really a quasi-community center, maybe next to the Higgins building where they are now, where kids can go after school instead of going to Dunkin' Donuts on a Friday and have more opportunities to interact with each other as opposed to having exposure to edibles, for example, that are a real problem. So we do a lot to interact with our kids. We can do more. I think we can do it cost efficiently. We have a crown jewel with Shrewsbury Youth and Family Services in our community, and I'd love to partner with them to provide more opportunities for our kids to have more to do and less opportunities to get involved with marijuana and other drugs that are available.
Well, my first comment is, as we all know, adult use marijuana is legal in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And in that reality, I think the town wisely decided to enter and to possibly benefit from having dispensaries in town than not. As was previously mentioned, several communities adjoining Shrewsbury have already gone down the road and either have dispensaries or about to. And an interesting point, the law also provides for delivery. So a Shrewsbury resident could order a product from a Worcester, Grafton business and have it delivered to their home. The taxes, however, would revert to the community from which the dispensary is located. So I think, and I had to recuse myself from some of this because of my occupation in which I'm involved in some marijuana regulatory matters, but I can certainly talk about the money that we might realize. To your point that sales or taxes collected were less than projected, yes, but there's an asterisk to that. The asterisk is that it's because the licenses haven't been rolling out as quickly as was initially projected. So for instance, in Northampton, there were the two initial places that opened were in Northampton and Leicester. The revenues were just reported for the Northampton facility for 11 days in November, and the months of December and January. It realized approximately $750,000 in taxes for the city of Northampton. In Leicester, with the exact same dates, obviously much harder to get to, not an interstate like I-91 in Northampton. Leicester realized $275,000 during that period of time. We're not going to spend this money till we have it, and we're not going to spend this money till we're comfortable knowing that it is a revenue stream that we can expect on an annual basis. Initially, I think that money will be put to reserves or to be used for one-time matters rather than committed to our overall annual budgeting structure. As far as safety issues, of course, the legalization was for those over 21, and we as a municipal government and as residents and as parents must address the issue as far as those under 21 are concerned.
Very good. Maybe we can move to a couple of the other sort of spending type issues, and then I have some more interesting questions that I've gotten from the audience to say for the last one. So maybe the more fun questions. Okay, so before we get to have fun, let's talk about water management and trash pickup. One of the other long-running discussions that we've had in the town have related to the quality of water in the town of Shrewsbury. I wonder if you folks could comment on where you see how you see this issue about water quality in Shrewsbury and what investments we need to make. And I feel like maybe John Samuel, since you've been going the second, maybe you should start.
Sure. So there are a few issues that I see. So we have the issue of manganese with our water treatment facility that we opened last October, I believe. There's no new manganese going into the system. And the good news is it's basically a bio, it's basically the good news of the biologic process that they have is there's no hazardous waste byproduct. So there's no new manganese in the system, but that doesn't mean a lot of things for people who are still getting brown water. There happens to be quite a bit of residue that's in the system, in the piping and lower lying geographies that are still getting some manganese in their system, but from the water main to their houses as well, through built up as well on the outsides of the piping. That's going to happen probably for another 6 months or so. But the town is working, speaking with the town manager as well as Bob Tzeski, the town's working hard to work with residents as soon as they become aware of something to fix it as well, but they're working hard to address this issue. The important piece to understand is the water is safe. And from a communication standpoint, going forward, we can surely do better so people can understand rather than going through a web page, through 5 pages to see what's going on. But part of what I like to talk about is clear and open communication, so we need to make a more user-friendly website and be able to push information out to all residents. The other issue is hexchromium, hexchrome 6, right? So there are 2 wells that had hexchrome at 3.5 parts per billion, which is below the EPA standard and below the California standard. I believe that's at low of 10 parts per billion, which was brought in 2014. That being said, it doesn't mean we're comfortable about having hexchrome 6 in our water. The 2 wells that had the hexchrome 6, there were pilots to replace those 2 wells, and the initial information based on my conversation with Mr. Tzeski is that they'd be much lower, about 1 to 2 parts per billion, which is much lower than now as well as the standards. They're also looking at is a plume of hexchrome, not from Shrewsbury, but somewhere beyond the Metso facility that they're always taking a look at as well, so they're being diligent. So they're always looking at ways to, they're making sure our water's clean and they're testing it. But those are the 2 big issues. There was also the issue of smelling chlorine gas, but it wasn't actually that, and that I believe has since been resolved. So the manganese issue, hopefully through time, should be resolved because no new manganese is going in the system. And then with hexchrome 6 as well, 2 new wells should replace the old wells that also bring down as well the hexchrome that's in our current water supply.
John or Steve, would you like to add or comment?
I think it's safe to say that the town water supply is at the top of everybody's priority list in town. We all want clean water and we want it now. Along with 3 other administrators, I help manage the Shrewsbury forum on Facebook. And we not only see complaints about the water every day, we see more photos of dirty water than anyone would ever want to see. The truth is, I spent a lot of time researching this, and the town is honestly doing everything that they possibly can to rectify the problems we're having. If someone tells you there's a quick or easy fix, they're not being candid with you. We have a new state-of-the-art water treatment plant. The town is working on removing the unwanted chemicals from the water that John just mentioned, and we're replacing a lot of the old water mains. So we're on the right track. For me to claim that we can instantly fix this ongoing challenge would be disingenuous and unfair. We're just going to have to be patient on this one, and I think in a matter of time we'll be good.
John? And John?
Nobody likes dirty water coming out of their tap. And it's a very broad-based, I mean, people throughout town have had this issue. We've had it in our house. I expect many people in this room have had it, and it's certainly not something anyone likes. But I think we need to understand the issue, first of all. So if one were to do some research about manganese, you would see that it is a naturally occurring mineral that is in the water supply of many communities in the Northeast. Now, many communities in the Northeast of Massachusetts have similar problems. So, first of all, the Shrewsbury is by no means unique to have the problem. Where Shrewsbury is unique is this new water treatment facility that, as previous speakers mentioned, John and Steve mentioned, came online last fall. $13 to $14 million project that came in on time and under budget. That is the state-of-the-art means of biological filtration to remove manganese from the water supply. As was mentioned, there's no new manganese going into the system. There's been a lot of manganese accumulated in the system, and now that we have controlled that no more is going in, we have to work about getting what's in there out, and we do that by flushing. There's a process called water pigging, and we try, through communication, we try to inform people when that's happening in their areas. However, this material can just slough off the sides of a pipe with no control and pop into somebody or a neighborhood's water taps, and that's, agreed, very, very frustrating. But we are past the worst. We're heading for a solution. As far as hexchrome, we're very pleased that it's way below the most strict standard in the nation, but we don't want to have that. So we are doing our pilot testing. We're also looking to see if a third party can be identified. About 20 years ago, the town entered in a very successful lawsuit, and there was an issue with another, I shouldn't say another, with an industrial facility that caused some problems, and the improvements were made to the prior water treatment plant, not on the town's dime, but on someone else's dime. So we're very committed to this. We understand that this is an issue that resonates throughout the community, and we need to improve our communication. There's a 20-minute video on the town website now with the manager and the water superintendent that gives clear facts. And I respectfully suggest that if people have issues with the water, they can, if they wish, post on Facebook, but it's more important to call the water department.
Very good. Thank you. And on somewhat related note, I have this question about trash disposal. So it begins with a statement that says the recent renewal of the trash disposal contract will result in higher cost. Do you think the bag fee should be raised by a line? I don't know, John, want to start and.
Sure, well, okay, yeah, our cost for solid waste disposal is going up. We just finished a 5-year contract, we're going into a new 5-year contract. We're changing providers. Everyone who bid offered prices much higher than what we're currently paying. We think we found the best provider, and actually we made a change from the firm that has been doing the solid waste pickup for many years in order to try to come to those savings. As far as the bag fee has never been increased since it was initially instituted in the early 2000s, I believe. And the manager called this to the board's attention in 2019 at one of our meetings. I think the board acknowledged that it thinks that that is going to be necessary at some time in the not too distant future. But considering the fact that we are also in a position where federal mandates require us to initiate a stormwater management utility, of which there will be stormwater management fees now imposed on residents effective July 1st, we simply did not think it was appropriate to consider increasing the bag fees at this time. But I don't want to mislead people. I think it will be discussed. I think whomever is elected selectman in May will be thinking about this during that 3-year term of office.
Yeah, John covered a lot of that, but I was at the meeting when that was discussed. The stormwater fee with $90 being assessed on 91% of the population, there's a real sensitivity to bag fees being increased, and I think it will be visited. Unfortunately, that is part of doing business to defray some of the costs along to the residents of the town, and I think that's something that has to be looked at. But also it's that balance of being mindful of other obligations now that we're asking residents to pick up. And that's something that we've done in the community, but it will be something we'll have to look at in the future.
And Steve?
I did a lot of research on the trash and recycling, and I looked for a report about if the town ever looked into a town-owned trash and recycling system. When I lived in Phoenix for a short time, they have the trucks that come and, with the automated arm and picks up the trash buckets. A lot of people complain that, they have too much trash for the weekly pickup. They have too much recycling for the bi-weekly pickup. We have to buy the trash bags, and you're lucky if you make it to the end of your driveway without one from tearing. I hear it every single day in the Shrewsbury Facebook group. So I think we should do research and find out if that will be a cheaper way out. If we buy our own trucks with the automated arms and give every resident one of the big plastic buckets instead of the bags, I think it will be cheaper, we'll have less complaints, and we'll have this whole situation behind us.
Very good. Thank you, Steve. So I have one more question on sort of broadly similar themes, although it's not related to town utilities. This question says, what can we do about the rising prices of homes in Shrewsbury? I don't know who wants to start. Maybe we'll start with you, Steve.
I don't think there's anything that we can do to deal with that, actually. I know we need more affordable housing, and a lot of people, support that. As far as development, I am pro-development, but I think we need to find a balance between development and preserving land for wildlife. I grew up on North Street in Shrewsbury, and I live on North Street in Shrewsbury. When I was growing up, there were about 8 or so roads going off Shrewsbury. Now there are more than twice than that. With, just a lot of houses close together, and it's sort of bothersome for a lot of people. So when I was growing up, you know, we had squirrels, we had skunks, we had chipmunks in our backyard. Not a big deal. Now, because of the overdevelopment, we have deer, we have coyotes, we have foxes, we have about 1 million turkeys living in our yard. Just outside my bedroom window, there's a big tree, and there's a couple of turkeys that have been sleeping in the tree, you know, part of the year for as long as I've, you know, been living at that house or whatever. And it's not because, you know, they love people and they want to come and say hello to us. They just were taking their words away, and they have nowhere else to live. So I think we need to find a balance there. But as far as the price of homes overall, I don't really think that there's anything that we can do about that. And I'm not sure that we should.
So it's classic supply and demand, right? So we talked a lot about the schools earlier, and going door to door and talking to people. They talk about why they moved to Shrewsbury. It's for the services, but also the schools. So the irony here is it's a great problem to have. Your house value goes up. What are most people's biggest investment? It's their home. So that's a good problem to have to a point. But the other thing that we heard, the housing production plan that was presented to the Board of Selectmen, we're seeing a migration of 25 to 34-year-olds leaving Shrewsbury. From 2010 to 2016, we had a 20% reduction. This is the lifeblood of our community. So this is something that we will need to look at, possibly, about some affordable housing. I don't think you want to enter into the free market and start depressing home sales. That's not at all what we want to do. But I think we do need to take a long, hard look as part of a plan about what do we want to do about providing affordable opportunities, not only for 25 to 34-year-olds, but there was also a group, 75 to 79-year-olds, also are leaving Shrewsbury. We need to find out why, but it's presumably because of housing. That is something we need to look at outside of the rising housing costs.
Well, I mentioned earlier that Debbie and I hope some of our kids move back to Shrewsbury and our grandchildren go to Shrewsbury schools. And obviously, the cost of housing is a barrier to a young family. On the other hand, those of us, as others have mentioned, those of us who are homeowners would like to eventually sell our houses for as much as we possibly can. So as far as affordability, I don't think we want to do anything with the existing single-family housing stock, but we want to do things to promote to some degree that we have to decide as a community affordable housing. We've already done some of these things. In our subdivision plans now, planning, there's a requirement that X percent, depending on the size, so many units have to be dedicated to affordability. But again, the question is slightly relative and comparative. For those of you who moved to Shrewsbury from another community, among the things you likely considered was the services, the school system, the tax rate, and the relative cost of housing compared to neighboring communities. And I think it would be fair to say that, say, North Row, West Row, South Row, average residential value is higher than that of Shrewsbury. So, agreed, it's a difficult situation for some who see it as a barrier. We just have to continue to try to do this in a thoughtful manner that promotes getting some young people to move in, but not to damage the values of people's largest investment.
Very good. You know, I'll move to a fun question and then we'll come back. We talked about this, I remember at the last discussion as well. You know, it says Shrewsbury is a very diverse community, and over the years, you know, it has become increasingly vibrant and diverse town. What do you think the town can do to leverage and foster this diversity? You want to start, John?
Well, Shrewsbury has changed dramatically just in my lifetime. When my dad grew up, we were the only Jewish family in Shrewsbury. When I went to school, there were 3 Jewish families in the high school. There was 1 Asian family. It's a heck of a lot different now, isn't it? And I think all for the good. I mean, this country is, what's made America great is the people that have come to America and become Americans and contributed to our society. So similarly, that's what we're seeing now. We have some new ethnic groups who were not living in Shrewsbury in large proportions coming and finding this, as many others have, to be a wonderful place to live. And it's a wonderful opportunity for us to learn about different cultures, different ways of doing what we all want to do, raise our family, help our kids learn, enjoy quality of life. So I think we're embracing that. I think we see in our government folks from diverse backgrounds entering, becoming town meeting members, coming to events like this. So I think it's a normal progression. I think it's very important that the board, as the executive body, take a position, or not even take a position, just act in a manner that is what everyone expects, to act appropriately and to respect the differences that we have, and actually to celebrate them. So could we do more? There was a diversity fair yesterday that an organization sponsored. I was very pleased that 4 municipal departments were represented there: the Commission on Disabilities, the Council on Aging, the Public Library, and our Parks and Recreation departments. So we're trying. I mean, and I'm not saying that in a defensive way. We realize that the face of the community is changing, as it changed in the pick a decade, the community has changed. And we continue to grow, adapt, and become better because of that.
So here's what I'd like to do. We talked many years ago, the various boards in town about doing road shows. And what I'd like to be is more proactive as a board, whether it's providing opportunities off camera, have office hours. I would love to come here and have office hours. I would love to see town meeting reflective of our community, but to provide those opportunities for discussion so there's a level of comfort, so people move outside their comfort zone. We have a smart town. We have 37,000 plus residents, very smart people, and it would be great to get more people involved and feel that they're part of the decision process. I think that's a lot of, I'd love to see with a long-term plan, to really bring people in, but also as a board, as an executive board, to move outside of our comfort zone and to come here at the annual meeting that you talked about, the capital project that's going to happen, so we can come out and talk about information that we're doing. So that's what I see, just to provide more touches on our end to be better about talking to people, providing information, being proactive, and let folks really be part of the process and not only talk about it, but be part of it.
I wish Johnny was here, actually, because we had lunch a few weeks ago and we were talking about this. It started, because he was one of 2 Indian kids in Shrewsbury High School. And look how far we've come. Now it's 25% of the community. When I was in high school, we had 2 African American kids and 1 Indian girl who was a friend of mine, and 1 Asian person. And we've come so far on all of it. And I really think we should just continue to do what we've been doing. I think evidence of the folks in this room show that we're on the right track.
Great. So continuing on the theme of sort of less policy questions, I thought this was a very interesting question. So normally in a discussion like this, we ask people to talk about how they're uniquely qualified for the role. This question says, what do you think you are looking to learn in your next term as selectman. And John's having
Sure. If I have the fortune of being elected, there are a lot of skills that I gathered as a member of the school committee that I think would be readily transferable, and I think they're similar with oversight, budget, with respect to budgets, policy making. Those skills I know. And if I were elected to the Board of Selectmen, I'd also know more than a majority of the budget very well. So those are skills that I bring. But what really excites me is really learning about those other areas of town government that I have familiarity with because I've been a town meeting member for over 10 years, but to really get the details. I've had the opportunity over the last several months to meet with department heads, to meet with the town manager and the assistant town manager, but to really learn more about the government and also learn more about all of our residents, to get out there. I enjoy meeting with people. Face-to-face is the best way to learn. So it's learning not only about the town, but more about our residents. So we shape a longer than 5-year flexible budget, a long-term plan that's reflective of our values. So that's what I'd like to learn.
John, go.
So, as a selectman, you have to deal with political values and administrative values. So, on the administrative side, I would like to learn. We're constantly trying to do what every good business operation, what every good family operation tries to do. How can we do it better? How can we do it more efficiently? Do we need to do this certain thing? Should we do it differently? So we're in the process now. We've done a major reorganization of town hall organization. We've done some consolidation. We're still doing that. We're in the process of making that happen, and there's going to be some bumps in the road. So we have to find the best course for this reorganization to bring us the benefits that we expect from them. We have a new town manager. We had a wonderful town manager, Dan Regato, for 20 years. But now we have Kevin Mizigar. And Kevin is of a slightly younger generation than Dan and I am, and brings us a different perspective to things. And I think the board has been, we made it very clear to Kevin. We weren't looking for a we're very proud of what we've done, but we weren't looking for a caretaker to just protect what we've done. We want to advance and move forward. So specifically what I want to learn in that area, I couldn't tell you, but there's a lot to be learned about how to be how to make this operation work better. On the political value side, it's about understanding, the previous question. The community is changing. The elected officials need to consider those changes, the changes in the population, the changes of what are the desired outcomes of our residents and voters, and then try to find, to decide if that lines up with my values or their values, and then find a way to move forward to do that. So I learn a lot coming to events like this, and I learn a lot when people stop me in the supermarket or call me up about either their roadkill or their tax bill. Very good. And Steve.
Okay, I've been around politics and government since I was literally 3 years old, with my dad being selectman and me being a major nerd when I was a little kid. I used to actually enjoy him towing me to the selectmen meetings, and I even used to take notes, which is crazy. There's so much that anybody has to learn, you know. We're all learning through our entire lives about everything. I'm a town meeting member, and before I was a town meeting member, I used to sit in the back and, you know, watch town meetings and everything like that. So I'm familiar with the process and how things are done. But yeah, I think, you know, John obviously has been a selectman for 20 years or so, and he's still learning, but he obviously, you know, knows more than the other 3 candidates. But yeah, nothing really specific. I think I know, you know, what I want to do and where I want to go and where I want to take the town.
his question. And it says there are many variations on this question, but I like the way this last one was phrased. It says, what is your vision for Shrewsbury in 10 years? So I think that's a great way to end this discussion. And maybe we'll start with you, John, and go down. John, the book.
Okay, I'm sorry. I wasn't looking, I didn't catch who you were looking at. I wasn't sure which one. Well, I'd like Shrewsbury to continue to be the town that I love living in, that I grew up, got married, raised a family, ran a business, and the town has been extremely, not purposefully, but just by the way it was, very supportive of my family. And as I hope it is to all of you. So 10 years from now, I hope that people are going to say, this is even a greater town than it was 10 years ago. And by that, we need to continue to understand what our values are, and then decide how we are going to take those values and make the transition and to make them realities when government is required to do that, how government should go on and do that. So no old, I don't have a concept of what it's going to look like, but people are still going to like to live here. People are going to be proud of the education they get. I hope they're still going to be reasonably happy with the tax, that their taxes are fair and compare well to neighboring communities, that the degree of municipal services are among the highest in the state, and that it's a great place to live.
I agree with John, it's a great place to live. Part of the vision for me in Shrewsbury 2030, you ask about 10 years from now, that's what I want to see happen after this town meeting, if I have the fortune of being elected, and start those conversations, really with the town manager, the town departments, and all residents, to really determine who we want to be. Is it who we are today? Is it somebody different? And how do we get there? This is a great community. That's why I chose to raise my family here. My youngest is heading off to college next year. All of our kids have had a great experience. They're doing very well in college. To continue to share those opportunities with younger families. That's what we need to do, but we need to do it collectively. So I see it as it's a collaborative discussion that I look forward to having, that we'll all have a say in where we'll be 10 years from now, and it may be where we are today, but I'm guessing some things will be different, and will it be a better community than we are today, and we're great now.
Okay, ask about vision, basically. Obviously, I'd like to see a lot more business in Shrewsbury, so we have more revenue. I think the whole Route 20 plan is definitely on the right track and going towards that. We'll hope that we have cleaner water in that amount of time. I would also like to set a goal, set a target date for the town to go 100% on excuse me, renewable energy. There are entire countries that have done it. So certainly a small town like Shrewsbury can do it. There are obviously a lot of benefits to cleaner energy. It's cheaper, it's cleaner, it's safer. So I think that should be one of the priorities. Of course, we also need to implement election reform. We need to build a new police station or expand the existing one. Chief Esther and Chief Bona also need more people in the department. So I'd like to see Shrewsbury become a shining example of what a truly amazing community can be. I just want to thank you so much for inviting me to take part in the forum. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to all of you, and would be honored to have your support and vote on May 7th. And since parting is such sweet sorrow, I will end with a line written by one of my favorite authors, William Shakespeare. don't you forget about me. Don't you forget